Hi. Word about hakes. This is my main one, the 45mm large hake. This is the inch one, or 30mm, it's just like over an inch. It's fast becoming my favourite. Two I bought years ago. A 3-inch hake and a 2-inch hake, which I don't use. I don't think I've ever used them. This one is a 2-inch one, so you can see that it's slightly different, but the hairs, the bristles, are about quite a bit shorter. Look. And it makes a difference. So we'll put them aside. I don't know why I keep them. I'm going to use the 30mm hake. I've got my paints here. They're student quality and some rough paper. So I'm going to give the paper a bit of a wet, but not thorough soaking. I want some of it to sparkle. Don't know what I'm going to do. Okay, right, we'll put in a bit of blue, a bit of ultramarine. See, where the paper's dry, it leaves a bit of sparkle, and you can add water to thin it down. So let's put a bit of light red somewhere. That's a bit too much, but we can, with this paper, this rough paper, we can even that out a bit. And just a touch in here, and we'll low horizon. I like low horizons. Bit of sienna. And we'll put a little bit of cloud going across. So a bit of light red, bit of ultramarine. Now that'll sort of dry to nothing, but it's a nice start. That is not. Okay, so we've got a blue sky with some wafting clouds going across, and some smaller clouds on the horizon. So let's put in a bit of. I'll just reclip the paper. I remember years ago when I started doing watercolours, I dread to think how long ago it was. Took me a long time to learn. Didn't have all the resources you've got with YouTube and Patreon and people vlogging their videos. It was very limited back in the 60s, late 60s, 70s. But now, and in those days we were advised to stretch your paper, but pre-stretch it. So what you do, you wet it all over, both sides, you soak it in a bath of water. Well, not with a lot of water, and then when it was thoroughly soaked, you would put it on your clean board, and you would tape it with a couple of 2-inch wide brown parcel tape. Put it all together, and then let it dry. And as it dried, it shrunk, and that's called stretching the paper. And then the idea is that once you start painting on it, it doesn't buckle at all because you've stretched it by shrinking it. If that makes sense. Well, let's put a bit of alizarin in there. I think just a touch. We'll careful the brushes don't flick. Let's just put in a bit of trees. I've got the board about 30 degrees, 25 degrees. Just a bit of background. And we'll put a bit of distant horizon in there. A bit darker there. I'm just doodling with the brush. I'll show a bit of sienna. Warming up as we come forward. We can even add some green in there. With that sienna, bit blue. I will use some Payne's grey in this. Just get a bit of a greeny, heavy green. I hope a lot of you are trying out the hakes, the possibilities that they give. A little bit of Payne's grey in there. Okay. Oh, that's wet there, so we can put in those background colours of sienna and seem to have some water there, don't we? Okay. So be it. I've got some of my tea here. Okay. This paper is very forgiving. You can sort of do a lot with it. I'll give more details on Patreon as I do them. Okay, now I want some harder stuff, so let's just pick up some burnt sienna, some blue, a bit of yellow, you have to paint thickly over wet, otherwise it doesn't stick, it just vanishes into the murk. Okay, we seem to be centering you, and I don't really like working around the centre. So I'll pull it to one side, so we'll put in a bit of a tree here. Put a touch of autumn in there. Dark green. And some shadow in there. I want that to blend in with the wet, because shadow. Try to get a different. It's too symmetrical. So if I put another one to the right of it, I mean to the left of it, let's just put a couple of these in, then it won't look so bad. A bit of shadow. Before I packed up on Saturday, I squeezed out some fresh paint. But my last two paintings were acrylics on Patreon. Have a look at the channel. There are 5 or 6 on there that are free to look at, so you get a taste of the channel, who it's about. So have a look. Right, let's just put in a little bit of let's just that's just too similar, isn't it? Let's pull that to one side. Okay, now I'm not copying anything, so I hope that I'm doing a sort of a reasonable stab at reflections. Now, let's see if I can scrape out a little bit of that. Yeah, they do. But on this rough paper, you need to have quite a dark, thick paint going. Otherwise, it won't show. It will just bleed back into the stingy, weak underpainting. I'll put some some lighter ones in there. I'll do this one in a bit later. After lunch I should probably do it on Patreon. But have a look on Patreon. The freebies, they're not, even the ones you have to pay for, are not expensive. Right, let's. It's really a tree study, and it's trees and mist, isn't it? Really, I don't know if I really want to put anything on the bottom of this. I'm quite happy with that. See, it was quite simple, wasn't it? What I've done is to leave some sparkle in the sky by not painting with the water too much. I'd have to put a couple of birds in there that splashed. Then I've put a distant blue in to stretch it back. I might even put a little bit of heavier blue in there, so to one side anyway. But I really enjoy in my blue. Okay, right. Well, so we've got several planes now. We've got the water here, which I'll give a bit of a dry brush to, I think. So I'll re-clip the paper. Just a bit of painting in the foreground here, but nothing of any great. But I want the paper flat, so just stretch it a bit. So we'll have the sky plane, then the clouds, then the distance, then the middle distance, then the nearer distance, and then the front, the foreground. So there's quite a lot of going on there. I'm going to dry it, so take your headphones off or fast forward. Ready, go. Right, okay, that'll do. Right, I'm going to clean my palette, so I get a nice clear, cloudy, bluey colour for the dry brush, the wrinkly bit. So when you let your paint dry on the palette like this, and don't keep it moist overnight you can put it in a Ziploc bag, which I did until I realised I had this lovely Sabre palette, which I've been using ever since. Anything that just you can put it in a plastic bag if you don't want to pay for it, and just make sure it's airtight, sort of airtight, and just use your colours or as if they're straight out of the tube, like these. These are all lovely and soft. But if we use the old tray, the old Ron Ransom method, use the big tray, the big butcher's tray, and just squeeze the paint out from the tubes and work straight away on that, you would find that you'd have water sloshing around the tray all over the place, and it wouldn't be a good idea, right? But with this, you've got some sort of control. So this is just a little bit of refinement on the Ron Ransom big brush watercolour method. So it's a bit of blue. A little bit of red in there. Be careful how you do this, because you might loosen the paint underneath. Okay, that'll do. I don't know if that's improved it or what, but a couple of birds. The boys. Ooh, that's a bit heavy. That'll do, sign it. Right, we'll put it in a mount and have a look at it, see what we've done. I think the blue mount for that. Alright, there we are. Keep the horizon fairly straight. Okay, so there we are. One little painting, tree study, simple tree study, showing these different planes. That's gone a bit hard edged, never mind. So, hope you enjoyed that. Let's just zoom out a bit. No, that's as far as we're going to go. Right, thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.